Happy Friday afternoon. What time is it? It's about a little bit after 6, September 4th, here from Stop Doing Nothing headquarters. And we had a question from a gentleman, and let me see if I can find his name here real quick, about building an empire, because I have a Facebook group, and if you're not a member of it, you're welcome to join. But I have a Facebook group called Empire Builders. And the full name, if you're someone who's listening on iTunes or YouTube, the full name is Empire Builders: How to Build a Thought Leader Lifestyle. And Andre Verd, who was a new group member today, about 2 hours ago, posted this question: how do I build an empire? I mean, where do I start? And I've always liked the name I gave that group because it kind of epitomizes what I like to do and what I like to teach people, but no one's ever asked me exactly what is an empire and how do I build one. So I thought, I like going live off the cuff. I thought we would talk about that for a little bit. So here it is, 6 o'clock on a Friday. I just put together a few notes that are going to be a good starting point for those of you that are new to the focus marketing world, new to the Stop Doing Nothing world, about when I use the word empire builder, what does that mean a lot? And what does it mean to have an empire? Like this gentleman asked right here. What does it even mean to have an empire? Historically, when we think of empires, we think of kings and pharaohs that rule over vast amounts of land and property and people. And the empires stretch far and wide. There's pyramids and there's sand dunes and there's buildings and there's castles. There's all these things when it comes to having an empire. And guess what? We live in 2020. There are not going to be any castles or any pyramids in 2020 when it comes to building your empire. But to me, an empire in this day and age, especially in the world of thought leadership, is a sizable business that is capable of generating multiple streams of income, and also that is somewhat autonomous, meaning that a lot of it runs on its own and you are not involved in the day-to-day of it. But really the core part of what an empire means to me is when you have a business that just kind of, runs on itself, is constantly growing, is doing things you don't even know about as someone who is the business owner or a co-owner. And it's also something that allows you a certain amount of freedom. If you were to be a pharaoh or a king or a prince or whatever, and you ruled over an empire, you would not have to be involved in the day-to-day work of the empire very much. You would give general guidelines and strategies, but you would not have to worry about the tactics on a day-to-day basis. So to me, my friend, that's what an empire is a multifaceted revenue-generating business that provides you and your family freedom and income and the lifestyle that you choose. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, you don't see empires too often these days, and oftentimes when you do, you think of billionaires. You think of the Elon Musks and the Bill Gates of the world, and when I say building an empire, I mean that would be ideally where all of us would be, but it's just not feasible. So at the smaller level, I'd like to think of an empire as someone as a business structure that has at least 3 or 4 paths of income. And I'm not talking about, like clients, I'm talking about facets of income, like maybe a lower priced item, a higher priced item, a medium priced item, one-off sales, recurring sales, just different ways of bringing income into the business. And so when I think about an empire, that's what I think about. Is I personally am trying to build a business which has multiple lines of income and one that runs mainly without me. So hopefully that gives you a good definition of what I'm talking about when I'm filming into this next part, no pun intended, what I mean when I say it's going to be really good for you to build an empire. And the reason you want to build an empire is, again, to minimize your risk, to maximize your income diversity, and also to give you freedom. I mean, ultimately, if I was to list like the top 3 things I want out of an empire, it would be freedom. I want the freedom to come and go. I want the freedom to work whatever days and hours I want. If I want to work, Thursday through Monday and take off Wednesday, I mean, I can do that. I don't want my business to be dependent on me on the day-to-day basis. So there's just all these facets in my mind that go through my head when I think about what it takes to build an empire. Now, how do I start building one? Well, first of all, you got to figure out either number one, what you're good at, or number two, what you're going to be good at. To me, all the great empires in the world, at least the ones I respect, are based on people taking and monetizing their knowledge and monetizing their wisdom. That to me is what I think of when I think of a great empire. Now we could talk about automotive empires or steel empires or different industrial empires. I just don't think that's going to happen that much more in our lifetimes. Like I said, obviously it's 2020, and we just don't see those big giant industrial empires anymore. All of the all the empires you see these days are based on either a software as a service, offering a service, either offline or online, things like that. And so if you're someone who wants to build an empire, that's the way you need to be thinking: is what can you offer, or what value can you bring to some lives that you could charge people for? Now, I am a big fan of recurring income-based businesses, and I really believe that a recurring income-based business, not passive, but recurring income-based business, allows you to scale a lot easier than kind of a one-off business where someone pays you by the hour or someone pays you a lump sum for thing, and then the money disappears. The beauty of a recurring income-based business or SaaS-based business is once you optimize how to get money in the door, it really becomes just a matter of, scaling just becomes a matter of pumping money in the front end and continuing to optimize that thing. So if you don't, if you get, for example, like a good funnel, we'll use the term funnel because that's a common thing in marketing these days. Once you get a good funnel and you're able to, spend $1 in the beginning of the funnel and you're able to get $5 out of the end of the funnel, then life becomes really easy for you. It really does. It's just a matter of scaling at that point, getting past some fear, maybe putting some money on some credit cards and scaling. But once you've figured out that formula of turning $1 into $5 or $1 into $10, or, again, it could be, just don't think of the exact numbers when I'm talking about this. Think of multiplying the numbers. So maybe $5 into $20 or $5 into $100. When you've learned that formula in your business, whether it's a thought leader business or a software as a service business, when you've optimized that formula, then life becomes easy. So most of the work that we do and that we teach and that we see people, having a struggle with is turning that $1 into, $5 or $1 into $10. It's very easy. I'm not going to say relatively easy, yes, to turn $1 into $1.10 or $1 into $1.20. And that's what I think puts off most people, is because they don't see a lot of return on what they're doing with marketing and they get frustrated. I see this in the print on demand world. That's another great way to probably make money, is build a clothing brand or apparel brand. And people that are getting into that world are thinking, low end budget wise, how cheaply can they start a business? And when they think about offering value, they think about what's the cheapest thing I can sell to get the most customers. And oftentimes they're barely making any money, if not losing money, on a particular business venture. And then they throw their hands up and they get frustrated that, I can't make money doing this because everyone's doing what I'm doing. And it's not a good money maker. And that's what I mean why it's relatively easy to take $1 and turn $1 into $1.10 or $1.20. Where you really can scale is when you take $1 and learn how to turn it into $5 or $10. That lets you do some really cool shit. It really, really does. And by the way, it's also very easy to take $1 and turn $1 into 90 cents. And so that's what you kind of have to get good at, is how can I take $1 and turn multiply $1 into 5 to 10 times. Multiplying $1 twice isn't good enough for me. Multiplying it 3 times, you're getting there. Take $1 and turn it to $5 or $10. And once you learn that formula and whatever you're good at, you can do amazing things. So first of all, if you're going to be building an empire or you want to build an empire, learn how to do that. Learn how to take a marketing dollar and multiply it by 5 to 10 times by selling what you are good at or what you want to get good at. Now, another problem I see in the entrepreneurial world and questions I get publicly and privately are, I don't know what to sell. I don't know what I'm good at. I'm not good at anything. How do I develop a product or a service, Patrick, if I'm not good at anything? Well, that's a mindset issue, and I'm not going to do too deep into mindset in this video. However, I would say that if you don't know what you're good at, then you shouldn't even be thinking about starting a business. And if you shouldn't be thinking, and if that sounds somewhat depressing, then it's not meant to be depressing so much. It's meant to kind of reset your mindset, and maybe you want to think about what can you get good at, or what do you want to do, or what would you find fun? What would you get joy out of? What kind of skills do you have that maybe you don't know you have, and you need to do some self-analysis on? But do not kind of jump into this entrepreneurial pool if you don't have something that, jazzes you and makes you happy and puts a smile on your face. Because that's really the first part of it. I mean, I can find several things that I would really enjoy making $1 out of. One of them is teaching. I love to teach, and I love to take, in the world of teaching, I love to take $1 and turn $1 into $5 or $10. It's an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful thing I love to do. So that really is the first part, is pick a path. And you can sit there all day long and say, I don't know, Patrick, I don't know what path I want. I don't know what path I want to do. And if that's the case, then, that may be time for some mindset work, and you can message me online, and I can either connect you with someone who's really good at mindset, or I'll see if I can get you over some simple hurdles. But the first part right there is just figuring out the path you want to take. And something else I do here is, what if I take the wrong path? I could sit here and find so many examples of different random paths where people are making money. There's almost, I'm not going to say there's 100% finite, but it's really hard when you pick a particular path in business and go down a certain route and charge very well for your product and service. It's somewhat hard to fail if you are good at that thing, and if you can find someone to sell, to pay you for that thing and to pay you well for that thing. So if you don't know what business you want to start or what service you want to offer, just pick one. Pick one that you're mediocre at. Pick one where you know that you know a little bit more than someone else. Could be, WordPress web design, could be graphic design, could be photography, could be video work, it could be office optimization, it could be that feng shui stuff. It could be soundproofing. It could be, how to build recording studios. Just find something that you know a little bit more than somebody else. You don't have to know everything about it. You just have to know a little bit more. And I would say that's probably the first part about building an empire, because in my opinion, when I was talking about an empire being a multifaceted income business, all those facets, all those funnels, all those ways of getting money into your business basically involve the same skill that you're selling. It's just different ways of selling it. You may have just the one-off course where you sell it for, $400, and then you may have the high-end consulting side that you sell for $50,000, and you may have the books and the t-shirts and the bracelets and the stickers and all that stuff, but it's all the same thing. It's all teaching the same thing and the same practices. So once you pick that path, it's just a matter of how do you monetize that path over and over. How do you monetize that path for low-end customers? How do you monetize that path for high-end customers? How do you get someone from a low-end customer to a high-end customer? How do you get someone who has, maybe no money but wants to know what you know, to the point where you can help them generate enough money to pay you for the high-end customers? A really good empire builder, in my opinion, is going to take someone that has $10 to spare in their name, and they funnel it into your business. You take their $10, you don't rip them off, you're going to offer them good value, but you show them in their business, or using the knowledge you share with them, how to get $50 of value out of that $10. and then maybe that person increases the joy or the happiness or the productivity in their life, and they move up your value ladder. And this is not meant to ever use in a devious way, and not ever meant to rip somebody off. But you can hopefully bring somebody into your world, like I'm bringing you right now, to the Stop Doing Nothing world. You didn't know that, did you? Whether you're listening to this as a podcast or watching this on YouTube, I'm bringing you into my world, to my way of doing things, into my tone of voice and my energy. That's what you want to do as an empire person. You want to bring these people into your empire and convince them that you have the same energy, and you speak to them and you talk to them the way they like to be talked to. Again, that's the other part about building an empire. And then after that, man, it's just a matter of finding different ways to monetize your audience. Low-end stuff, middle stuff, high-end stuff. Because I'm in the thought leadership world, a lot of the common words that come to mind, like masterminds or private Facebook groups. I mean, all that stuff. And again, this is in the world of education and thought leadership. If you're someone who makes really good bikes, then build your bike empire. Do everything from refurbish broken down bikes and selling those for a profit, to help people buy high-end, racing bikes, the Cannondales, and the stuff like that, those fiber bikes, those bikes that are so good that people won't even put them in their garage. And I've had friends like that who are really into their high-end bikes, and those bikes come in the house every single day. They take more care of their bikes than they do their cars. Their car can sit out in the ice and snow, but their bikes can't. So don't get focused on the fact that I'm talking about education and thought leadership and that stuff. The principles I'm talking about can be applied to other forms of business. Photography is a good one. Develop a way where you can take low and people who have no photography skills but who want them. Develop ways you can take them into kind of a beginning photography skill, and from there to a medium photography skill, and from there to a high-end photography skill. And again, you can kind of take this empire building mindset and you can stamp it on multiple things over and over and over. So this video wasn't meant to be too long. Looks like we've gone just about 20 minutes here. And that's just the beginning of building an empire right there. So hopefully this answers the question. And again, for those of you that are watching that have no idea why you're watching, somebody in the private Facebook group of empire builders asked a question: what is an empire and how to build an empire? And the whole intent of this video was meant to give you some quick tips on that. So, and this has been useful. I would suggest that you also go back, number one, and find that book, find that Facebook group, Empire Builders, How to Build a Thought Leadership Lifestyle. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and on Stitcher and on iHeartRadio and on Spotify. You should find the podcast every place. And if you're looking for the podcast someplace and you're not finding it, let me know and I'll get on top of that. Subscribe on YouTube. That to me is one of the better ways you can get involved, because I'm a very visual person. And it's really good that if you're sitting in your living room and you're watching this on a big giant TV, that you get to see what I'm talking about. And sometimes we'll do stuff on the slides on the screen too, to where you can see that, just not today. The podcast is a really important one. And then head over to stopdoingnothing.com and get on the email list also. And of course, we're on Twitter as Patrick Allmond. We're on Instagrams. We're on the Grams too. And we've obviously got t-shirts and bracelets and stickers and stuff like that. So hit me up, message me on Facebook if you ever want to talk about that stuff. Otherwise, I hope this has been useful. Subscribe, like, watch, share, of course. But hopefully this has been a useful 20 minutes of your life to show you what I believe an empire to be and how you can start building one. So now what do? Now you go out there and you rewatch this video a couple of times and you figure out what you're damn good at and how you can charge someone for it. That's the very basics of building an empire right there. Hopefully this has been useful. It is a Friday night. Get off of the internet and go do something in the real world. Go have a drink. Go have some barbecue. Go do something in the real world. As much as I love technology, it cannot be our lives all the time. And trust me, definitely not on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you soon.